Hey folks, Reverend G3 here. We're finally getting to our beer, but I wanted to share with you the new grain mill and how it works. This is a first for me as well. And the missus who's holding the camera. Bring it in here so they can see the wheels. The stone mill. Now we just want to crack these grains, so we adjust it back here. These are pretty small grains, but let's see what happens. Put that on. Let's not do too many at first. I want to see how well it cracks. Now this is 2-row pale malt from UK. Is that right, Lynn?
Yep.
Oh, look at that. That's awesome. Now all I got to do, folks, on here is, let me see if I can take this off without dropping those extra few grains in there, because we want them cracked. Now if you look at the wheels in there, on the back there's an adjustment, and I can bring these in all the way, and that's how you make your flour. This was an old LDS grinder, or recommended by the LDS.
So are we making flour, or are we continuing to crack?
No, we're going to keep cracking.
Okay.
I already adjusted it back.
Okay.
No, this is beer day. We'll do flour day another day. But this can crack 60 pounds of grain an hour, according to the original literature. So we're cracking actually 20 pounds of grains, or 20 plus pounds, because we're gonna be doing some roasted barley as well. This is a Scottish ale.
Break for now. Break for now.
Alright, let's get to the brewing.
Nope.
Sure you're recording? Okay, preppers, check out the grain bed. Yep. Now, what we're going to do is transfer 6 1/4 gallons of water as gently as possible. In the future, when I can afford a March pump, the inside of the lid here will have a sparge arm on it, which is basically, in layman's terms, a shower head. The pitching rate is, we got this at 170 degrees, and in the future this will have a hose connected directly to the top of this bin. Like I said, when I can afford a $200 or so March pump to automate this whole process. And this is the mash tun, which is going to act like a big tea bag and just basically steep all of these grains for about an hour at the desired temperature. Okay, I want to move just a little faster now.
Too bad we don't have smell-o-vision.
Oh yeah, this smells so good right now. My gosh. Okay, well, I'm going to fill this up and we'll get back to you with the next step.
Go.
Okay, preppers, check it out. Oh man, that smells good. So now what we want to do is drain our wort off, okay? And that's going to be down here. Now this is what goes into the boil. Look at that. Look at the coloration on that. Zoom in on that, honey, can you? And then what we're going to do is do a sparging. This is the initial drain off of your wort, spelled W-O-R-T. Let me close this. We want to keep that temp going. And as I said, once I get this automated with a March pump, it'll go from the keg to your mash tun or lauter tun, and then from here back into your keg. So there's a lot of steps that can be automated with just a simple pump. But this thing, you all saw me making the ugly duckling, and it appears to be working rather well because we got a beautifully colored wort here. And this is going to go back into our now empty boil kettle. And then after we drain this off, I won't bore you with the complete sequence of it, but what we're going to do is basically rinse the grains with several more gallons of water at a certain temperature. And what that does is it breaks down the rest of the enzymes and sugars and carbohydrates and all that stuff, all the good flavorings that are left in the grains. And that'll finish off the wort process. And then we go to a boil. And that's where we add our different hops and any additional flavorings. Today it's just a Scottish ale, so we're going to be using some U.S. Golding hops for bittering and for aroma. We've got whole hops and hop pellets. All right, well, I'll get back with you when we do our sparging. Until then, have a home brew.
Go.
Okay, preppers. Now we're doing our sparge. We're going to be doing it manually. So what I want to do is, and it's getting a little dark here, is we're just going to add another 10 gallons to the grains.
Over an hour.
Well, it should be over the period of an hour, but that's not going to happen since we're doing it manually. But we're going to add another 10 gallons, and that should make up for any loss from the grains, any absorption from the grains. Now, making beer really isn't rocket science. You can actually do it a lot simpler using extracts, but they're just not as good, and they're a little bit more costly. But if you're going to get into brewing, I suggest you start with extract brewing, because there's a little bit more science to this. Alright, well, I'm not going to put you through all the gruesome details here. I still got 7 more gallons to pour, and then after we drain that off, I'm going to pour it back in and do that cycle for at least a few shots. And then we're going to boil all of our brew in there, and that's where we do our hop additions and everything else. So I'll get back to you when we're throwing some hops in. Okay, preppers, it's day 2 here. I let my wort chill overnight, and now I'm getting ready to pitch the yeast. And I'm doing it in my fancy stir starter there. This is what we're going to do. We're going to put in some Edinburgh ale yeast, which is White Labs PO28. And I'm feeding it in with some dried malt extract and a little bit of warm water. And what this does is it's just like any yeast that you bake with. It's going to give it a head start on life. And then I'm going to pour it into the 3 carboys of beer that you saw pictured. And that's it. Then we start waiting for flocculation, which is the churning of the beer. And then we just have to wait until the fermentation begins and ends. Alright, preppers. Stay prepared. Hey, preppers. Day 3 here. And it took about 12 hours for this yeast to kick in yesterday. It had me a little bit worried, but it did say it's a slow starting yeast. And then in the middle of the night, I had bubbler tops like that on all the bottles, and they actually blew the lids off because of such heavy-duty flocculation. Now you probably can't actually see the beer churning. There you go. But what it's doing now is the yeast is building up and it's creating lots of CO2. So what I did in order to vent the gas was put some hoses down into some water. And what that does is basically the same exact thing as the bubbler. It allows outgassing, but no gas or any contaminants to make it into the beer. So that's it. Now we wait for this to settle down a little bit. The bubblers will get put back on. And then this ferments for, a week. And then I'll rack it over to its secondary, which is leaving behind some of the sediment and all of that. And I put them into new clean bottles. And then we let fermentation continue. And it'll further clear up and eliminate some of the excess yeasts left behind. So that's it. Our miniature series on homebrew. This is one of the essential skills you can learn for post SHTF, and I suggest you just learn as many skills as you can. This one I've been playing with for 20 plus years or so, and I enjoy it. And it could be a very good barter skill. Alright, Preppers, that's it. As always, this is Reverend G3. Stay prepared.